What interested you in exploring data-driven creativity?
Oh, good question. It started before I worked at Adobe. I worked in ad agency life for 20 years. And I always had the same problem where I'd have clients or my client's boss who didn't believe in creativity. They were either salespeople or a CFO or CMO who were just like, all that marketing stuff is just crap, right? And so it was a constant battle of me trying to prove. I remember I'd go into meetings with like 5 good logical reasons as to why this creative idea balances or goes back to the strategy and why it's important. And so for me, there was a fundamental moment with one client who said, what ammo can you give me so I can sell up the chain that proves why creative ideas are better? And that started a 7-year journey for me where I did a lot of research, read a lot of books, and then it eventually ended up writing my own book called Return on Ideas, all about proving the value of design through science. Because everything else is subjective, right? Case studies are so super subjective. So for me, it was like, how do I prove to a logical left-brainer that creativity is more important or better for business? And the only way I could find that is through science. You asked how I know design-led companies are dominating.
Yep.
So one example of that, and there's a lot of great studies out there, is that the Design Management Institute did this study where they compared design-led businesses against the S&P. And for 10 years, they found that design-led businesses had a 211% advantage over the S&P just based on design-led thinking. There's other studies where it's like 94% of your first impressions are design-based. 86% of people right now, there's this Forrester report, they say they would pay more money for a better designed experience. So there's a lot of there are a lot of studies and stats out there that prove that design isn't just a fluffy thing, right? Like it is something that is driving business. And the trick in it is finding out if your business is right for design-led thinking, because they're not always going to be.
What I'm interested in is how a company that does have that, is right for that fit, transition, so it does have that design focus.
There are several sessions we've had, and we give a lot of ammo with our Design is Power kits. But really what you need to do is start first building relationships with that leadership crew, finding ways to prove that it's more valuable. You could do that through tests. You could show, hey, this creative ad did better than this non-creative ad. Things like all the study that I've done on neuroscience and psychology, and try and bring to the table reasons why design is more important. All those stats that I listed earlier, you could show stats from studies that prove it, right? But more importantly, you need to create a relationship and then get buy-off from the decision makers. Once that's happened, then you can start to create a plan of how we're going to convince the rest of the company, how we're going to create change. Because at Adobe, we believe in experience-led companies. So it's like take design-led, but go up to experience-led, because that's the new frontier, right? Experiences. Becoming an experience business is so much more than just making great experiences or good design. It's making sure that's part of your core. So you need to go and find the core and change the core first, or nothing's going to happen. I'll say another something if you're still rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So people come to me and say, how do I create emotional experiences? How do I know if it's going to connect? And it's really important first, rely on logic, whether it's from your stakeholders, whether it's from research, whatever it may be, to figure out your customer. If you work in an education, if you work at a university, or if you work at a school, whatever it may be, really get to know your audience. Use every tool you have at your fingertips. Studies, surveys, analytics, everything you can to know what those triggers are, what they care about, what matters most, and then craft experiences that reflect those triggers. And that's when you're going to get a really good connection. Far too often those things are disparate. We'll have research and we'll find some really cool piece of data or an insight, but then we'll go off in a vacuum and we'll create some experience that has nothing that's relating to it. So if the more you can marry and come together, so creating relationships with the science half of the business, that's where you bring together art and science and figure out what are the triggers, what are the anomalies, and then how do I make creative experiences match to that. That's when you're going to have a groundswell. I would also say this is a challenge of how do I sell my management on becoming a design-led company is a challenge for everyone. Even at Adobe, we're known as a creative company. We're not immune to that. We have so many acquisitions, so many different products, and so many different players that it's a constant flow of new people or different philosophies. And for us, it's there's some that's coming from the top that believes in it, but we also have that groundswell where we're getting together and saying, as a design community or as a creative department, how can we create experiences and create something that is powerful, that we stand for, and then go out and start to evangelize it to the rest of the company. So it's a constant struggle. Like everyone's going to be doing it. So the only answer is get started. Arm yourself with great information, great data. Know your audience, meaning not the people you sell to, but the C-suite, whoever the stakeholders are, and how they react to different situations, and then approach those situations in the right manner that you can help convince them and get them on your side.